Okay, we are choosing the order now. The screen is not sharing. The screen is not sharing. You can share the screen. Okay, now we will do the ordering of the presentation. Please watch. Is everyone ready? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Please take Julia. Julia, can you continue to share that screen, please? I need the order. Please continue to share that screen. Are you? Thank you, Julia. Okay, you can stop sharing screen, Julia. Okay, IEO is a safe time of example. Julia, are you ready? Okay. YouTube live stream is working. YouTube is working. Okay, good. Okay, first of all, can you give a big round of applause of the this control here. Once you start timer, we start.
Is it like a just
press control left, right, control left, right. Okay.
We started and problems. We are UAE and say, who presented our solution for the Hong Kong housing market? Your economic consultants are me.
Raj, trades. Moving on to the executive summary. We believe in a long-term multi-facility approach to solving Hong Kong's housing problem. Firstly, unlike market analysis, which we eliminate the volatile housing prices, then we moved on to a current policy evaluation, followed by other considered. Then suggested a proposed solution framework, which financial and risk mitigation and mitigating risk. The current state of the housing, Hong Kong housing market was identified discussing the recent activities, current trends, and market outlook and secular trends. The main factors say the market economic events that discuss the topic of slowdown in the market and the average of public housing exceeding 6 years and such underlying CPO. This is not a trend for smaller housing units, which is why there is a massive of facing the Hong Kong house market. Our approach to the percentage of demand and understand Hong Kong's demand is extremely important to understanding how the house market is being sold. The housing market is unresponsive public sector events. Now, public sector rent caps affect price of rent and a lot in general, incomes have risen, and because of that, rents in general do rise as well. This is not the case with public housing market. Now, we can see here this price gap, which means the quality supply much less the equilibrium quality needed in the market. Now, this was not a question on increase in demand in assets that are the private sector housing, which means that the increase in demand, as you can see, leads to an extravagant rise in prices, not that which increase in quality supply.
Next, we will look at supply constraints and demand factors that have contributed to the current state of Hong Kong. These are job ratios and land policies. Things that private firms have a very cost to make new buildings. States are optimizing housing rents. Make it so that private housing is simply not an option because it is not possible to do so. In regards to demand factors, Hong Kong's demand for jobs rising as import migration increases. Moreover, as mentioned, demand is far outstrips supply in the public rental house market, which has led to what we see today. In the last decade, prices have risen over 200%, with the median income now 20.7% of average housing price. The average wait time for public rental housing is also over 6 years now.
Yeah, that's to have 100,000 homes and use of previously unoccupied land. The right public housing is scheme to build 30,000 temporary homes to reduce the wait time for permanent public housing. Land sharing policy is a private public partnership where land centers have the discount rate of 70 to 30% for public and private. Public flats at 65%.
Now we've gone over some of the already proposed projects moving on our countries that experiencing problem and how to deal with it. For example, we have Japan that also had housing crisis back in the 1980s. It's all built on housing. And Singapore, on this side, they have similar country to Hong Kong, solved it by establishing a department that focuses solely on providing affordable housing. Finally, the Netherlands is experiencing a similar problem, and they're still dealing with it, but we have been doing this well since they've been subsidizing construction companies like Blackhouse since 2019. And before we begin going over the solutions, here are a few solutions that we were not really to successfully in physical. So, the first one was the forcing of operational house developed, operating sometimes reduce it. Build less houses than they actually can, compared to traditional residential. We wanted to put a law for middle houses, however, this made it circumvent the investment complex, so we took that. Land elimination was also an idea, however, your initial costs are higher than they are now, which may actually lead to higher house prices finally, but now parts is just against the laws in the world, so we can't put that idea aside.
Now we move on to our first solution, which is the public-private partnership between the government and private sector. The main aim of this policy is to improve the land sharing policy and make it so that the costs minimize. As you can see here, the process works as lower percent process contractors bid. There's private funding and operation, and there's 80-20 split between public rental housing and private housing. After investment in profit service in the firm, who this time will apply, the ownership is transferred to the public from the public rental houses, while, as you will keep stakeholders side, the contractors keep 20% of private homes as an incentive. As you can see, if this process will show is feasible, it benefits all key stakeholders, as the government has lower opportunity costs in producing the public rental homes that are now produced by the private sector.
Moving on to the next proposed solution where we involve UC home ownership from Singapore. As Eva mentioned, Singapore has fought to power private the home ownership scheme, which essentially subsidizes buying of houses for individuals or families, and then it allows a natural owner demand for the buyer to allocate policies in the long run. Now, currently, home ownership discount rate is around 38%. We plan to pick up around 30%. We do see other beneficiaries, and we try to pick some additional corporate plans. We talk about the next slide. We could do additional activity. The individuals earning up to 32,000 dollars could be a part of this home ownership scheme. As you can see on the top right, the home ownership schemes offer flats have been minimal in the previous year. We plan to increase that 10,000. We will bring a massive advantage of home prices.
Now we're going to move on to our financial analysis of this solution. We want to show you the data we use. The aim is there for the Hong Kong Housing Authority as well as local engineering authorities and journals. And we use lines of masses as well as Polish and perspective calculations. Here we see our AI model. We assume that journalists are the most important stakeholder in this process. And the reason for that is that the government have low opportunity costs. And so it is first, the government will certainly be benefited. And low income households have more homes available to them at lower paying times. So the most important factor is to ensure the feasibility of private firms. And you can see the point is 50.65 years, after which firms will retain control for another 15 years, to earn an expected profit that is viable for the real estate industry. We then did an NPV analysis of the project. And as you can see here, the IRR for this project is 10%, which is well within the bounds of 8 to 12 of the project with a similar risk. Now, firms are incentivized to undertake the project because of the low risk. There will always be a demand for public rental housing, and firms in practice.
Project finance based on the tax revenue that we discussed, which is research reports on the policy between 0.3 to 0.5, so we get the median value. As you can see, there is an average value. Analyze that we increase of 7.57 billion on Hong Kong dollars, we increase the corporate tax rate from 16.5 to 18%, which will increase tax on every revenue used from the corporations in previous business. We have a regulation for which all of the targets on the maximum revenue and the variation increase tax on every business. Now we move on to the segmentation using financial analysis. Matrix to the impact matrix, which shows that different risks and how we can mitigate them. Essentially, the biggest risk could differ our balance is a high probability and high impact on financial viability to lenders, which we discuss this mitigation here. These years are wages, and here are some ways and mitigation of strategies that we have. Eventually, we will financial and energy demand, financial development.
And the two solutions we have decided here is public-private partnerships with contractors and the increased taxes in various sectors and other subsidized public hospitality.
So it's going to be the previous section. We get asked the first question. If you were the Hong Kong government, would you prefer those capable Hong Kong people to buy property from homes, regardless of whether it is ownership scheme property? Even if the ownership is however, it's a long shift and takes a long time to make that change. Currently, most of Hong Kong is 40% of Hong Kong is in Hong Kong spots, and we need to increase the ownership figure through our local ownership, but it does take time. Singapore, which is also the next one, is not typically perfect subsidy because of the fact they have so many people owning their homes rather than renting, which is prevalent in Hong Kong.
We must also capitalize on Hong Kong's previous national standard using spending funds. We cannot use those funds for immediate transformation to the public sector, which is why we get that we use these economic institutions that do subsidies and take it for the mental health victims that is really.
Have you considered the stakeholders of the and what would be what would be stakeholders?
Right, I can answer that question. So we have considered stakeholders and the consumers we protect in the hospitality, people, the development of societies. After we discussed was maintenance companies and all these companies with the demand of house. Solutions are there to have benefit for all of these financial stakeholders, consumers, to how for cheaper than partnership, we see that private contractors now incentivized to actually engage. And so ownership and optional maintenance much more contracts, increase the administration, and therefore the benefit of this.
About the suggestion about extending the housing ownership scheme. May I know what will be the actual action like for housing ownership scheme or another solution?
Right, so just moving to over slide here, we aim to reduce the discount rate to 38%, which means that we can use the budget for more companies. Now, it's 8% increase in beneficiaries and the additional tax that we receive. That also reach approximately 5,000 more homes, 5,000 more tax annually. So that's 50,000 homes plus in 10 years. And around that is this
You think that will create this incentive effect among the cities that for people who choose housing ownership scheme and then the way to plan will be wrong. So we actually have two approaches to this scenario. So like we public ownership scheme, be sure those who do not buy homes can homes affordable units. And moreover, through the home ownership scheme, we actually reduce the demand for public rental housing because those who can afford it will not own them and through the rent to buy program will be able to do so. So the upper pressure of demand for public rental housing decreases while supply increases to the public private partnership. And in doing so, all stakeholders have.
So additionally, before it was around 260,000 applications, the home ownerships. Not as we mentioned, we're going down to our public garden partnership. That is, I think right now, we know, interest rates are rising, right? So, the solution is one of the possible changes, not which. So, maybe the target is the overall solution is the long run. So how do we change this?
What are the interest rates? Well, because we want to exactly change the fiscal policy by increasing taxes in other sectors, we want to compensate by not really increasing or changing the interest rates. And instead focusing on subsidizing thanks to the taxes actually collected in the new fiscal policy. In fact, we're hoping that this project doesn't affect the current deficits and does not worsen it. Hopefully improves it, less at least become happy with new housing. And well, that's the question.
Additionally, we also use inside the Western market that now is talking about the homes go down despite it's going to down deficit for the year, why we possibly without energy and we increase the corporate tax by 1.5% to 1.13 more options. We have a question. We would not any suggestion that you will take to increase the supply of land? We consider that as one of our solutions to the scrapping of parcel. We don't think that's a good strategy problem. Given the high amount of density, it leads to a high amount of pollution. And so by trying to increase the amount of land available for residential development, we're really reducing the amount of greenery and nature in Hong Kong, which will lead to worse pollution and environmental standing in Hong Kong. Rather, we seek to bend and change the plan for the northern metropolis. We seek to expand the development of land, and we see that the main issue with the northern metropolis is that there's no guarantee of stacking up. We're going to high and medium. So we believe that we should increase the amount of land and we see more households that will be done in the metropolis, but rather than focusing on making sure that distribution points in Hong Kong is handled all the society. If you were the government, you're just trying to stabilize the property price over the years. Because the property price fluctuate a lot, because people. So it's a strategy of investment, which is the reason why many markets don't know that, especially house market has been fluctuating. Government will also implement schemes and also say maybe 5 years ownership which reduces the amount of speculative investment. Speculative investments each buying properties that fluctuates market prices. We are suggesting along with the solution which reduces the price fluctuation. Thank you very much. And I think so we should do that. And thank you very much.
Pilot, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, we can hear you.
Team Thailand. Let's see a second. Team Thailand, can you try to control the screen yourself? Just try.
Okay. Let me try right now.
Can I ask a question regarding how the judges will ask us like the questions?
Oh, that was probably answered in the chat already. So
Okay, my bad.
yeah, Q&A will
Jury ask,
done
if the
microphones.
jury ask any question, you will hear just like you're hearing now.
Is this a movement right here?
The screen
Yes.
is working well. You have controlled the screen. Again, Team Thailand, can you hear me?
Hi, it's quite echoey. Would there be a better source of microphone?
Okay, Team Thailand, the floor is yours.
Hi, just checking. Are we audible?
Please.
Hi, are we audible? Hello?
I was told not to do so because it will block the slide. It will block the slide. It's okay? You sure?
Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello? Hello, what's going on?
Team Thailand, can you minimize yourself to show just one place? Team Thailand, please show just one place.
I think they can hear us. We should start.
Okay.
Okay, like this, just show one place. Okay, Team Thailand, if you are ready, please.
Good afternoon. We are Team Thailand, and today we are presenting our business case to solve the housing crisis in Hong Kong, housing for Hong Kong, an accountable solution. Executive summary then. With the theme of the housing crisis, Team Thailand aims to create a self-sustaining model to alleviate the impacts of the housing crisis on middle and low income groups. And this group of people in Hong Kong suffer the most from the main problem today, the problem of property inflation. Our solution to this problem is to create a self-sustaining property inflation accountability system, which will clear the waiting shortlist and create a permanent structure for meeting affordable housing demand. So as introduced, the main problem that we'll be tackling today is the disproportionate effect of the housing crisis on the middle and low income segments in Hong Kong. Because of the crisis, the group of people experienced the following two harms. Firstly, long waiting lines for public housing, sometimes up to 5 years. And secondly, a severe shortage of affordable homes because of the lack of comparative profit in the sector. And all of the harms of the housing crisis essentially boil down to one root cause, and that is property inflation. The disproportionate effect can be seen in the graph right here. Property price index increases at a faster rate than GDP per capita in income and much faster than compared to low middle income. And this means that despite the housing market growing, we think that inequality and K-shaped growth causes the middle low income's purchasing power to stay comparatively lower, which alienates them further from the inflating housing market in the future. So what causes property inflation and consequently the harms which are market failures here? We think that the root cause of property inflation are gentrification, inequality, and excess demand. And these are from the stakeholder groups of the commercial sector, luxury sector, foreign demand, and speculative market. So given these groups of people who cause market failure, our approach is to create a self-sustaining property inflation accountability system where those who cause property inflation need to be accountable to solving market failure, which has harmed the middle and low income segment, as we see right now in Hong Kong. And as you'll see in our presentation, this is going to be done in a financially self-sustaining long-term solution and a solution that makes no compromises on economic health.
Onto strategy case study analysis. Analyzing the Hong Kong market reveals 3 key weaknesses. 1, poor zoning laws. 2, redundant housing entities. And 3, low property taxes. Home prices relative to income are significantly higher than the global average. More concerningly, over 2,300,000 people are on the waiting list for public housing, and over 200,000 are living in informal housing. This number becomes more concerning as the new demand for public housing is 20,000 units per year, but only 1,500 are constructed, creating a yearly deficit of 5,000 units and an indefinite waiting list. Onto our solution of self-sustaining property inflation accountability system, two parts. The first part is our financial sector, where we make it attainable by finding where we get our money and what we want to spend on it. And the real sector is where we make all of our ambitions a reality. Finally, on mortgage accessibility, our key idea is that mortgage interest directly affects a customer's purchasing power. For example, a mortgage interest increases 1%, could purchasing power decreases by 8%. To address this, we propose two main solutions. First is soft loan and mortgage insurance. Offering soft loan offers 0% interest for the first 3 years, helping borrowers with limited savings to qualify for home loans. Mortgage interest is a 20% insurance policy that reduces lenders' risk, encouraging more mortgage approvals. And secondly is securitization. By grouping mortgages with similar characteristics into a group, we can attract more investors than a single mortgage loan could. This frees up capital, allows the government to issue more loans, increasing customer spending and investment.
Moving on to taxation and funding. This is where we get our money to fund all of our projects. Our aim in this area is to have the government tax the accountable groups and redistribute it to fix market failure and reduce deadweight loss. In this way, we create a long-term self-funding system. We have 4 tax sources as seen on the presentation, and we will be doing 2 main tax plans. First, upfront tax and annual property tax, and second is capital gains tax. A feature here is we will adjust the tax rate based on the economic situation, like Singapore has done. If we need to stimulate the economy, we can decrease the tax rate. If we don't, we could hike them up. Another part is public-private partnership. Apart from the demand side, we also have to focus on the supply side. The reason why affordable housing is in shortage is due to its low profit margin and very high land cost. To deal with the issue, we should encourage firms to build more affordable houses by subsidizing and giving tax exemption. In exchange, the government will cap the price at 2.8 million Hong Kong dollars for a 36 square meter apartment. We expect to build 45,000 houses per year for the first 10 years to clear out the large amount of backlog and build 20,000 houses after that period to meet the yearly demand.
Now, onto the real sector. From our research, zoning in Hong Kong is outdated. It hasn't changed for 20 years. Most of the land is forest and only 7% is zoned for residential housing. So, to increase land availability and for affordable housing, we need to repurpose underutilized or poorly developed areas, free the land on the city's outskirts, and increase the FAR to reduce the cost of the land and incentivize land use for affordable homes. Next, one of the biggest problems of construction is bureaucracy and dealing with lots of authorities. That's why we need to consolidate the small and fragile housing agency in Hong Kong to be the one-stop service for affordable housing to reduce the bureaucracy and increase efficiency. And next, we want to create innovation to reduce costs in order to make affordable homes both better and cheaper. Firstly, we have new construction tech and second, standardization. This will reduce costs and maintain the quality of affordable homes. Meanwhile, our third solution is applying eco-friendly, such as renewable energy. On top of the reduced cost, it will also attract international sponsors.
Next up, we look at financing. The slide overviews the cash flow for the first 10 years. We propose generating funds through commercial, luxury, foreign capital gains, and a second home tax. Key assumptions include an average yearly wage of approximately 240,000 Hong Kong dollars, a price cap of 2.8 million, a livable house size of 36 square meters, and a production cost of 5.472 million Hong Kong dollars for such a house. To achieve our plan, we recommend public-private partnerships amounting to 52.4 billion, mortgage insurance of 1.2 billion, and soft loans totaling 13.3 billion Hong Kong dollars per year. Altogether, these recommendations involves a cash flow of 66.9 billion Hong Kong dollars per year for the first 10 years, ensuring affordability and sustainability in the housing market. Moving on to the cost breakdown, to enact our policies, there are three main expenses. PPP expense, we must subsidize the difference between the price cap and the estimated cost of construction, which is currently at 5.472 million Hong Kong dollars. But after our cost-saving measures, that can be expected to be reduced to 3.774 million Hong Kong dollars. Secondly, mortgage insurance. We calculate the total by assuming a deficit rate of 16%. From that, we will be expected to cover 1.2 billion Hong Kong dollars in expected defaults per year. Thirdly, soft loans, we will need to subsidize around 200,000 Hong Kong dollars of interest per loan per year, giving us a total of 13.3 billion Hong Kong dollars per year. For the first 10 years, we may use government leverage to fund these increased costs. Together, these measures will ensure the effective implementation of our policies. Moving on, this slide outlines the impact and timeline of our 15-year plan. In the financial sector, we have three initiatives: the PPP, soft loans, and mortgage insurance. These are aimed at supporting housing development and affordability. In the real sector, we focus on new zoning, one-stop service, and construction tech. These initiatives will streamline processes and promote innovative construction methods. Our timeline spans 5, 10, 15 years and beyond. Within the first 5 years, we aim to build 45,000 units of housing annually, clear a 250,000 units backlog in 10 years, and meet yearly housing demands of 20,000 units. This will be supported by financial backing and newly built housing and continuous zoning updates. Overall, our impact will result in sustainable long-term housing structures, addressing both immediate and future housing needs.
In conclusion, Team Thailand's solution is to create a self-sustaining property inflation accountability system. And in doing so, we fix market failures effectively and significantly alleviate the housing crisis in Hong Kong in the span of 10 years. This is truly an accountable solution. Thank you. And I guess just a side note before the Q&A section, the first part of the presentation, there was a lag time in the movement of the presentation. But basically we spent a little bit like this master slide over here with our plan. It got delayed. So this is essentially our 6 solutions right here, and the information there as like a master sort of executive summary in a case detailed holistic view of our model.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's
Okay,
a little bit
good.
echoey though.
Yeah, sorry. Technical issue. We will start our Q&A. First, can you move back to the slide for textual model?
Sorry?
I noticed you have three solutions. One is private-public partnership. The second is soft loan, and the third one is mortgage insurance. Regarding the private-public partnership, I think the government would be in a rather reactive manner, because in order for you to get fundraised by this initiative, the private sector needs to be profitable before they can agree to join this initiatives. So, are you sure that you can achieve that 78.3%? According to your plan, what is the major hurdles for you to achieve this?
I'm
Did
sorry.
we hear?
Can you repeat the main part? It's very echoey. We
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
hear you.
it's very echoey. Would it be possible for you to come up to the computer and speak into the mic directly? Would that be possible? Because right now with the speakers, it's just all echoey all around.
Oh, okay. I'll try again. Can you hear me now?
It's still quite echoey. Sorry.
It's very echoey.
Can you type in the question?
Is it okay now?
No, it's still echoey. Sorry. Would another microphone source be possible? I'm so sorry about this.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Much
thank
better,
you.
much better.
Yeah, much
We're
better.
so sorry for the trouble.
Okay, my first question is about these initiatives, where one of the biggest initiatives is the public-private partnership, which comprise 78.3%. But in order for this to be successful, I mean, the private sector need to be very profitable before they can agree with this. So what would you do to ensure that you can achieve this 78.3% initiative?
Right. So that is definitely a topic that needs to be discussed. So here, when in the slide, we say the current cost of it to construct a 32 square meter flat or condo or apartment is around 5.472 million Hong Kong dollars. This is taken from the market price. So this already includes the markup for the companies. So in providing these contracts or these partnerships with the private sector, the markup is already provided to them, and how the contract would work would be a bidding system. So certainly we have taken into account the profitability of the private sector, and that is reflected here in the slide with the current costs taken from the current housing prices. But we did mention that we can cut these costs from our real sector development, mainly zoning, by increasing FAR so that they can build higher, taller buildings, and also new technology, construction technology like precasting or standardization, which can provide economies of scale.
So just in terms of the public-private partnership idea in general, the main purpose of it in the financial sector is really just basically to meet the supply and demand. So have enough supply and control the supply's price. So what we'll do is, incentivize private sector firms to go into affordable housing through, as we explained, tax exempt subsidizations, and as we calculated in that cost. But in exchange, these particular firms will need to set a house cap at 2.8 million for it to be affordable. So that control of subsidizing, cost of production for affordable houses and setting a house cap will make the demand of, affordable houses really realize. And the real sector over here is how we sort of create this affordable housing scheme, in which through each of the models, it basically cuts the cost even more, and that we factored it into our calculation there, removing a particular percent of the cost, assuming that we invest in this real sector and do get the efficiency from city zoning, one-stop service, and new technology.
Okay, thank you. There is another question. Hello, Team Thailand. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, loud and clear.
So I have two questions regarding to your solution. The first question is about your capital gain tax. As you all know that Hong Kong is kind of a international financial center. Do you think that implementing the capital gain tax will affect the confidence of the investor around the world and then create a long-term harm to Hong Kong as a financial center? This is the first question.
Okay.
And then for the second question is about the your suggestion about
utilizing the forest area. One of the major problems related to the forest area is the brownfield site problem in Hong Kong. I believe that you have researched this before. So how can you encounter this problem related to the brownfield site? Thank you.
All right, I'll probably take the first question. Maybe Singto, you take the second. Okay, so for taxation, our central model is to fix this property inflation. So in terms of the two types of taxes that we're going to impose, upfront tax, annual property tax, and capital gains tax, it's only going to be the tax is only going to be revolved around buying basically the real estate sector and what drives up property inflation. So we gave you three things at the start: gentrification in terms of building luxury buildings or building commercial sectors or expanding the financial district in Hong Kong, and that resulting in land prices increase all throughout the area. We talked about speculative gains and the foreign demand from mainland China, and we talked about the inequality that's growing. Right? So essentially here, our model is for people who contribute to property inflation. So these four stakeholders right here that we talked about, we're going to impose upfront tax and annual property tax and capital gains tax specifically in the area of the real estate market in order to fund this whole thing and in order to solve the market failures. And in terms of maybe if you ask the social consequences of it, we think that yes, like taxation, there will be a little bit of pushback from these individuals, but we think that this policy is crucial to closing the gap of inequality, right? These four particular stakeholders, they've benefited from the government quite a lot. We think that if you look at the graph in the beginning of property price index versus GDP per capita in the low middle income, it's growing and growing, right? We think that we need to take a bite on the bullet and a trade-off needs to be made. But in the long run, actually, we think that these stakeholders actually benefit due to economic development. We think that this whole scheme is a big fiscal policy. And in developing this real estate market, which is a leading sector of the economy, we really get this multiplier effect of up to 2.9 times looking at historically the Thai data. So we think that through that's going to actually benefit these companies even more. But on the point about capital gains tax, we'd just like to clarify that it's not capital gains tax in every single area. It's just going to be the capital gains tax that is, so the capital gains that is made in the real estate market, which drives property prices specifically. Yeah.
Right. So the second question about the expanding residential areas to forest areas. First, I would like to clarify in our real sector plan for city zoning, we have three main aspects, right? Expanding to existing areas, reconstruction, and the third part, which was of your concern, being the forest area. I would like to point out that in our plan, actually, the part on the forest area is quite minor compared to the other parts. Our intention in this for this strategy is if you inspect the Hong Kong zoning maps, the areas which are forests, and with reality, there are a lot of areas where these areas zoned for forests are there are actually no forests. So those are the lands that we deem that we are able to develop into residential areas, and it's more of a the thinking is more on updating Hong Kong's zoning map. As we have said, Hong Kong has not had an update in zoning for almost 20 years, actually more than 20 years. So that's the main thinking behind expanding these areas to the forest zoned areas. Does that answer your question?
I will
and maybe
pass to another judge.
Yeah, so maybe one quick thing about an illustration for this city zoning and regulation. Aim is just to create more land for affordable housing. Let's look at FAR in particular. So FAR is floor area ratio. Essentially, we're going to try to incentivize as much people as possible in order to actually use the land to create property prices, affordable housing. I'm sorry. So FAR, we're going to maybe times 1.5 or times 2 to it to make affordable housing able to build 20 floors versus luxury able to build 10 floors, and that's going to incentivize basically.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, time is up. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you.
Singapore, please stand by.
All right. Thank you so much.
Team Singapore, please try to remote control. Team Singapore, please try to remote control. Can you hear me clearly?
Hello, yes. It's working right now, yeah. Okay.
Everyone ready? Please wait, the jury is counting the marks. You can test your screen and try to say something, test the sound.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing.
Mic test, mic test.
Mic test, mic test.
Okay, Team Singapore, jury is ready. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. We'll be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Imagine a single bed encased in metal bars in a space no larger than one parking space. Here, your neighbor lies right above you, and 20 others share one filthy toilet. For the 200,000 Hong Kongers who live in cage homes, this is their everyday reality. But no fear, my friends, for Team Singapore is here. We'll be covering the problem accompanied by a stakeholder analysis pertaining to our 3 areas of focus, before answering the key question with our 4 solutions leading to 3 crucial impacts. Let's dive straight into the problem. Hong Kong property prices are the highest in the world, a result of high demand and low supply. Demand from housing arises from both necessity and investment. At the same time, supply is low due to limited land, zoning restrictions, and high vacancy rates. Together, high demand and low supply cause the average home price to be 18 times annual household income. Next challenge, long waiting times for public housing. The graph here shows an increasing trend of waiting times, and last year, the average waiting time for public rental housing was 5.8 years. All this means a significant shortage of affordable housing. But what does it actually mean for our stakeholders? Well, home seekers have a strong interest in affordable quality housing, but are also the most powerless. The other half of the population, homeowners, have no interest in affordable housing. High rents and prices benefit them, and houses constitute the majority of their net worth. The most powerful stakeholder, the government, is interested in making housing affordable, but also has a vested interest in selling land at high prices. As for developers, they're profit-maximizing oligopolists who have little interest in affordable housing and pressure the government to keep property prices high.
Currently, policies are grouped under 3 areas, namely targeting land supply, increasing public housing, and financial incentives plus subsidies. Let's start with land housing. First up, we have the land sale program. While it contributes to government revenue, costs incurred from aggressive bidding are passed on to buyers, resulting in higher property prices. This also takes away land that could have been used for PRH or HOS schemes. Next, the Lantau Tomorrow vision aims to increase public housing supply by 200,000 units through land reclamation. However, its extremely high cost has been met with strong opposition. It is currently postponed. Now, let's look at public housing. The PRH scheme provides 850,000 units and serves 2.1 million residents. But placing low-income households together leads to social segregation and can depress nearby property values. The HOS scheme supports 1.5 million residents in home ownership, but the average flat cost of $4 million remains out of reach for low-income households. Lastly, financial incentives and subsidies. The RRS offers tax deductions that offset high rental costs. However, gaining access to these schemes is rather unintuitive, and monitoring legitimate lease agreements can be challenging. Lowered mortgage terms, such as reducing down payment and interest rates, makes home more accessible but lead to higher default rates when individuals buy properties above their means. To conclude,
the government faces a conflict of interest, resulting in policies that are only mildly effective, with certain room for improvement.
Next, we examine 3 cities similar to Hong Kong: Singapore for land scarcity, London for high property prices and inequity, and Vancouver for high urban density. Singapore's three-pronged public housing strategy uses high-density vertical developments, housing grants to ensure inexpensive public flats, and includes green building initiatives with the National Parks Board. Hong Kong can adopt these policies to maximize land use, integrate green spaces, and provide effective solutions. Singapore's next solution involves land reclamation and public-private partnerships. Over 130 square kilometers of land has been successfully reclaimed by Singapore to develop new areas of housing through PPPs. With over 100,000 people in the waiting list for rental homes, we believe that efficiency that the private sector brings is exactly what the Hong Kong housing market needs right now. This way, housing projects can be delivered both on a large scale and fast. Next, the King's Cross development in London exemplifies inclusionary zoning by designating units for lower income groups, integrating them with affordable housing with market rate units, and investing in community infrastructure. However, a key difference we must note is that London has abundant land, while Hong Kong faces a massive scarcity, which can slow down construction and drive up prices. Finally, Vancouver's empty homes tax imposes penalties on vacant properties, incentivizing rental and generating around 115 million Canadian dollars for affordable housing initiatives by the government. However, the marginal effect may set in. Vacant houses in Hong Kong are mostly owned by investors who prioritize the flexibility of selling anytime for speculative returns over contractual rental income, and thus this solution is not recommended for Hong Kong.
Next up, we'll bring you through all the possible solutions and their respective pros and cons. Starting off with the short-term ones. Firstly, we identify the market-based approach to lower housing prices. However, this may seem straightforward, but at a time when it's already falling demand in a highly inelastic market, this solution is likely ineffective. Secondly, equity-focused policies, namely increasing tax credits, subsidized loans, and direct subsidies. Whilst these can cause higher budgetary strains, they can serve to complement existing measures to allow homeownership to be more affordable and for select private housing and public housing to be lower costs. Indeed, our model shows that for the average individual, such policies can greatly reduce his mortgage and tax payments, easing their burdens. Last but certainly not least, temporary settlements to address the housing issues with immediacy. Our team digresses the conventional PRF model to present an innovative solution: container vessel housing. Firstly, our solutions are expected to be fast and cheap. Secondly, these vessels are very flexible and versatile, allowing housing on land and on oceans. In terms of durability, we think that despite being meant for shorter periods, our vessels can easily last over 10 years. Recognizing the limited land space and rising sea levels, our designs allow for these houses to possibly exist on a barge on water. Considering weather and legislation, we shortlisted a few possible locations as shown. Right now, these figures are the figures for the public rental flats in terms of production and cost. As you can see, a single unit right now costs over $1 million to produce. Next, our suggestions. We reference our industry leader, Eaton, to estimate our per vessel costs to be $75,000. Considering the additional cost of land and barges, at base case, for every one traditional PRF, we can afford to produce 7.5 vessels. Indeed, in all three cases, Bear, Base, and Boo, we will increase the number of units provided at no additional cost. Under the base case, we are looking to increase production by nearly 40,000 units in the next 4 years, which will cut the waiting time by 2/3.
Finally, we cover the long-term supply-side policies. Firstly, land development is achieved through repurposing underutilized land, such as the large amounts of undeveloped government land parcels, as well as abandoned infrastructure that can be converted to housing at relatively low cost. Military land, while large, is deemed unsuitable due to the potential political infeasibility. We believe there is also potential in developing Hong Kong's rural areas and mountainous regions, due to the vast amount of land compared to the city centre. However, to address concerns of inaccessibility, this policy must be supported with projects to enhance transportation links. When developing mountainous areas, hazard assessment and mitigation must also be carried out to reduce landslide risk. Furthermore, with our proposed integration of green spaces addressing environmental needs, legislative change is possible to allow for development in previously protected areas. Based on our calculations, we will see a subsequent 8.67% increase in housing stock. Next, we propose land reclamation to increase land supply. Land used for non-essential purposes, such as golf courses, can be reclaimed by the government and redirected to meet housing needs after the lease expires. Another possible solution is land reclamation from Hong Kong's surrounding waters. However, such a policy is significantly more expensive than developing existing land. Thus, when we acknowledge the importance due to the limits of existing land development, we believe that this is only feasible in the long run if the government is able to reduce its large budget deficit and address possible environmental concerns. Moving on to measures targeted specifically towards public housing. Public-private partnerships in public housing development, expanding on the current pilot scheme, are key to reducing the government's financial burden and increasing quality, efficiency, and innovation. Next, the government should increase public housing height to optimize space while employing construction techniques like 3D printing to reduce construction time and increase cost effectiveness. We also suggest master plan towns featuring residential areas integrated with commercial and recreational facilities, smart technologies, and green space. This ensures efficient land use while improving sustainability and quality of living. Through analyzing historical records, these are the estimated developmental costs for a successful district with proper facilities. This cost will be spread out in the long term, and hence we believe that such an investment is worthwhile given the numerous benefits.
Affordable housing is a basic human right. Our integrated plan combines short and long-term solutions to ensure that each and every Hong Konger can afford housing, enjoy high quality of life, and live in a stable society. Thank you very much. Happy to take any questions from the judges.
Thank you very much, Singapore team. We need to start the Q&A section now. Okay, let me ask the first question. Now, you know, a lot of properties were bought by investor instead of the one who really occupy the flats. So, do you think Hong Kong government need to impose heavier restriction on those investment behavior so that the property price can drop down?
Thank you very much for your question, sir. So regarding this, we actually did a lot of research before deciding our solutions. And what we found was that Hong Kong actually had property cooling measures specifically targeted towards people who wanted to invest in the housing market in Hong Kong. So these are not people who actually need the houses to live in, but for example, mainland Chinese or other foreigners who want to buy these properties to invest in. So this is actually quite a huge market for the Hong Kong housing market. And a lot of the people buying properties, especially the more high-end properties, are investors trying to turn a profit on these properties. So what the Hong Kong government did, as we found out, was that they actually had property cooling measures such as additional buyer's stamp duty, which means that for every additional house that you purchase, if you're a foreigner, the amount of tax that you have to pay is higher. So this solution did prove effective because what we saw was that housing prices in Hong Kong actually declined this year as compared to previous years. So because the demand for housing subsided due to these property cooling measures, what the Hong Kong government did in March 2024 this year was actually they scrapped these property cooling measures and basically scrapped the tax on buying properties for investment. So we see that, as we explained in the demand slide, what we see is that taxes are a possible solution, but at this status quo, where the demand is not that high, we think that taxes are not needed because the demand for housing in Hong Kong has been on the decline.
Hi, hello, Singapore team. I praise for your comprehensive plan.
Thank you very much.
Your plan is comprehensive and very organized. And I just like to know if the market change. Okay, so do you have any measures to cater to the situation?
Hello, sir. To answer your question, as we mentioned earlier, we did delve into the possibility of applying demand-side policies, such as raising our interest rates, as well as the relative charges, fees, etc. Right now, we do not see these as necessary because there's already a declining demand in the market. However, like you mentioned just now, it is definitely prone to change. When we expect there to be a change in the market and the prices really shoot up significantly, we definitely wish to adopt suitable measures. Namely, we will adopt measures like adding on to the additional buyer stamp duty, as well as increasing interest rates for non-eligible buyers. Of course, we recognize the fact that this must be balanced with the equity distribution of housing. Therefore, when we impose these measures, we will use the funding from these measures to provide additional subsidies for families that actually need to buy these houses, such as first-time home buyers under the public housing schemes. Any other?
Another thing that we actually noted was that the demand elasticity, demand in the Hong Kong market for housing is actually highly price inelastic. And so we know that price changes would not significantly affect quantity demanded, and hence we would need more robust and flexible policies over more superficial and extrinsic policies such as taxes and other financial disincentives.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay. Hello, Singapore team. Yeah. I also appreciate your PowerPoint, very comprehensive, but your tone, your pace a bit fast. And can you explain more about the housing being built on the in the ocean that slide? And then can you explain why you think that can improve the situation? Also, do there any successful cases in the world that you can support your idea?
Hello, sir. Thank you for that question. So I will start off by explaining a bit on what we really meant when we said the housing developed on these oceans. Namely, we meant that, okay, so first of all, we meant that we wish to produce these things known as container homes. These homes are going to be developed using these container vessel-like structures, and they'll be able to be developed for very cheaply. As you mentioned earlier, with our current analysis through one of the market leaders, Eton, we expect our per vessel cost to be only 75,000 Hong Kong dollars. This is greatly contradicted with the current high prices for public rental flats production. Therefore, we think that by using these container homes, we're able to quickly ramp up production in order to satisfy the increasing need for these public rental flats and to lift people out of their cage homes. Why we choose to put them on the ocean is because right now Hong Kong is facing a significant housing shortage, and we find it difficult to find a location to really put these people with proper public access, whether it's public transport or utilities, etc. Therefore, we believe that it's good for us to leverage on existing public transport and public utilities and put them at already developed areas, such as the ones we mentioned here, like Kowloon Bay. These areas we have identified have already a lot of actually these barges built there, basically a lot of ships, large ships and barges. So our idea here is to produce these collateral vessels and to put them on the barges so that they can reside here. My teammate will elaborate. Just to add on, I think the other part of your question, sir, was on which countries have actually developed floating communities for people to live on. So actually one of the biggest examples are European countries such as the Netherlands and Norway. So they have actually like implemented very successful floating communities where it literally is a self-functioning community by itself. so people just live on the water. And it's not actually only limited to European countries. It's also happening in French Polynesia, Maldives, Britain, France. So actually all of these measures have been proven to be effective. And yeah, we think that bringing it to Hong Kong will greatly help alleviate the short-term housing situation, in the sense that people who are waiting for public housing can live in these floating communities for a few years, a few months before they get their public housing. And sorry about the case, we wanted it to be as comprehensive as possible. If I were to add on one more thing, on the topic of container homes, Hong Kong actually has previously piloted such schemes, as shown on the right over here. So we believe that we can leverage previous statistics and research to really build into what we want to develop now. Yeah, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Team Singapore. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
I would like to ask more about the floating communities suggestion, because I saw you guys have chosen Kowloon Bay and Jurong O as the suggestion. But besides the climate risk problem, Kowloon Bay is kind of the place that you have chosen is kind of a luxury housing place in Hong Kong now. Do you afraid that it will create some society problem if you try to build a floating communities there? And also for Jurong, I believe that there should be a bridge and some infrastructure implemented in that area. So do you think that it will create some other problems if you choose to build the floating communities there?
Hi, sir. Thank you for your question. So regarding the location, sorry, it's very echoey. Yeah. So regarding locations of Kowloon Bay and Sun Quan O, what we propose is actually floating homes on barges. So the thing about barges is it's very flexible. So, for example, if there's an event at Kowloon Bay that requires the marine space, what you can do is simply move the barges to somewhere else for a month or two. As for the Sun Quan O, what we found was that even though there is a bridge there, the harbour inside is actually very suitable for floating barges. And in fact, we found a news article that actually said that actually proposed Sun Quan O as a possible venue for floating communities. So we think that these two solutions are the most likely to house floating communities, because they are close to the central area and also because they are sheltered by the coast and harbours that they are part of. Thank you, sir. If I were to expand on what my teammate had just said, basically, our rough idea is the fact that because they're on barges, they're actually very flexible. We don't mean that we're going to completely shift these communities away from their existing location. Of course, that wouldn't be. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you very much. Team Thailand, the last team, they had some technical issues during the Q&A, and their time was cut short a little bit. Mr. Choi, would you like to go back to the question you wanted to ask Thailand? Team Thailand, do you want to answer Mr. Choi's question that was supposed to be asked?
Yes, if the jury has any questions, I think we'll be ready to answer them.
Okay, Team Thailand, I will give you back the screen, and Mr. Choi will ask the remaining question that was supposed to be asked.
Right.
Team Thailand, please.
Hi, so sorry about the situation. All right, it's still echoing a bit. We thought that technical difficulties meant that our Q&A section was cut short.
Yeah, okay, can you hear me?
Wait a minute. Let us just go to our Q&A section real quick on the computer screen.
And yes, we can hear you very clear. Okay. I think we're ready for
just a moment, please.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, we can go here.
We're ready.
You講先。Sorry, can you hear?
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
It's okay for me to say again, but can you hear now?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay. Yes, I say the third time is nice to see you all again. My question is that one of your slides has showed that you say that Hong Kong have a low property tax rate, is about 15%. So any suggestion that you would want to do with the tax rate, and then after your suggestion, how can better the situation? Thank you.
Right, so the 15% tax rate is on rental income. So there's no, from what we've researched, there's no annual tax, the assessment of the property. So what we would like to do, with our model of self-sustaining property inflation accountability, we would like to increase the taxes on those who are accountable in creating the market failure or creating this property inflation in order to help out those who are most affected by this problem, which are low and middle income people. And we have 4 main target demographics in which we plan to increase taxes on, which are people who speculate in the market, those who cause gentrification, so luxury housing or some commercial buildings, and these and in general, just people who are the most accountable. So these are the people we would like to increase the taxes on.
And essentially here, after increasing, that tax, upfront tax, annual property tax, and capital gains tax, that's where we go into the self-sustaining part of our accountability system. So this taxation funding increased by over here from those who cause property inflation allows us to spend in all the other 5 areas to solve property inflation and solve the housing crisis.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, Team Thailand, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, so we're leaving soon, right?
Wait, just to clear. Sorry about this, but the question was only 1 minute 30. I assume that it would carry on for maybe 5 minutes, but if this is not the case, then okay. Well, we're just thinking about, we got
that was the remaining question that was not asked due to the technical issue. There is no other question.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Okay. Okay, Team Malaysia, please be ready.